Hi there, it's me, Stephen Thomas, with Reports on Housing, bringing you another housing debrief. Let's just dive right into today's topic, the housing update. It's the 2024 autumn market. And you're thinking, it's not the autumn, it's still summer. Summer goes all the way to right around September 22nd, September 23rd, right around there. I think it falls on this Sunday, and that is the beginning of the autumn market. But right now, it's still summer. But the kids aren't splashing around in the pool or going to the beach. Maybe they can on the weekend or this weekend coming up because it's a Labor Day weekend. No, they're back in school. All of my kids are back in school. If they haven't graduated and they're doing their adulting, we have one that we dropped off at college. We have two that are in high school. We have one in middle school. And then, of course, there's Zeke, who is now starting elementary school. He is in the first grade. So all of my kids currently right now, while I am recording this, are actually in school. So school is here. School is really the beginning of the autumn market. So yes, it's going to be nice and warm for many more days while the kids are in school with the air conditioning blowing. We still have to send them to school with jackets because some of the teachers love to keep the rooms frigid. But it really is now the autumn market. The autumn market has arrived. It's the end of August. We're recording this on August 29th. By the time we get to Sunday, there we go. It's going to be September, and we're already seeing it. You're seeing it at Starbucks. You're seeing that we might not have holiday cups yet, but we definitely have pumpkin spice lattes. So fall is officially here. And that is typically what happens is that's when supply slowly falls after reaching its peak. And also demand slowly falls. At summer markets where supply actually continues to rise and then demand slowly falls and the market's slowly but surely it's actually slowing down a bit. So, but the housing market hasn't quite reached a peak. It's very, very close to reaching a peak, though. And some markets have reached their peaks. And we've actually seen inventory starting to come down in some areas that have actually, across the United States, in Texas and also in Florida, they have reached a peak and now their inventories are coming down. And it's because they've added so many more homes. All of a sudden, any kind of shift in the market, they're going to start to see it come down. But that's not quite where we are on all markets. Across the United States have not quite reached that peak, but it is about to hit. But the reason that we haven't peaked yet, and usually we would have peaked right now because interest rates have been more favorable, is because of the adoption of new rules. Across the United States with the NAR settlement, there are new rules that are out there. And these new rules went into effect a couple of weeks ago on Saturday, August 31st, 2 weeks prior. So it's been a couple weeks that we've had these new rules, but they have been impacting the different curves that we're looking at. Inventory looked like it was already going to reach a peak, but then it popped up a little bit over like the last week and a half, 2 weeks. And part of that is just because of those new rules. There's this shuffling around of all these brand new contracts, tons and tons of new contracts that everybody needs to do things a little bit differently. It's very, very confusing. There is a gigantic paradigm shift. Everything has been changed around for real estate. So it's going to take the better part of a month to figure out all of this stuff. But it's affecting the inventory side of things. It's affecting the demand side of things and the market speed. And it has everything to do with just the absorption of this giant new way of doing real estate, the actual business of real estate. And it's the biggest change over the past 100 years. So this is a gigantic change that has to be absorbed. And the real estate industry is going to absorb it, but it's going to take a month for them to figure out all the nuances of it and get new systems down. And they've been preparing for this for such a long time. But now that it's here, they now have to figure out how to articulate everything, put together all these brand new contracts. And so it's just a new frontier. They will get through it. But like I've said before, I used this actually during COVID. Take a deep breath and relax. Don't worry, we'll get through it. just like when we first went into COVID, there was this disruption in the real estate industry. And there were disruptions actually during the Great Recession, as there were a lot of foreclosures and short sales coming through the pipeline as well. So big changes, but the real estate industry will, of course, make it through that. So the peak might not yet have been reached. It's going to be reached over the course of the next few weeks. And that's as everybody in the real estate industry figures out everything and moves along, because that's exactly what's going to happen. So it's just going to take time, and everybody needs to understand that it will take time to get past this little piece of data right now. So as far as the United States inventory is concerned, it's at 1,380,000. Now, it was a lot less. You can actually see that it was a lot less than where it is right now. You could see if you go back in the past, like in the start of 2022, that's a couple of those Himalayas back. It was really, really low. Now it's at 1,380,000. This is still the lowest level. This is still a really low level. Prior to COVID, we'd never seen a level this low. So this is still a crisis level of not enough homes. So that's just where things are at right now. And if I draw a line across, you could actually see it is still extremely low compared to where we ever were before. And this thing goes all the way back to 1982, when the population in the United States was way less. And the number of homes on the market is just really critically low. We've called it, we've talked about it before, called it a supply scarcity. It doesn't feel like it as much in the marketplace today. And that's because this supply scarcity is just being matched up against really, really low demand because of how high interest rates are. Although interest rates are improving, and they will continue to improve. So as that occurs, that better demand in the future is going to be matched up against still the supply scarcity, which means values are going to be going up down the road at a stronger pace than where they are right now, which they're going up only slightly right now. So that's where it's at right now. Supply scarcity is still there. But if you want to know what's going on within the last couple of weeks, you could see that this is Southern California. It's actually up 2%. It looked like it was approaching a peak, and then all of a sudden, within the last couple of weeks, we get this blip up. It's up a little bit, up another 2%. So it has not quite reached its peak. It's at its highest level, and it's actually higher than where we were at this time in 2022. And so it's been a while since we've been this high, and we were up this high at 2022 because rates were rocketing higher. And that's that orange line is 2022. Now, the Bay Area, it isn't quite above the 2022 number, but you could see within the last couple of weeks that it actually went up 2% as well. So it's gone up a little bit, but if you look back, the peak actually could have occurred 4 weeks ago. We'll just have to see where things go from here. But it's not really coming down like it normally does. Normally, it's this soft curve where after it reaches a peak, then it starts to come down. It would have been coming down right now had it not been for the big change in the real estate industry that it's currently digesting right now. So up 2% in the Bay Area. Maricopa County is actually up 3%. You can see it actually, that curve looked like it was coming down nicely, and then it just went up 3% in the Phoenix area. Also a bit, this shows a change from what the trajectory was prior to this. And then you get to Clark County. Vegas actually went up the most in the last 2 weeks, up 7%. And that's the largest rise so far this year. And that has a lot to do with, once again, the big giant changes in the real estate industry and absorbing them. So we have this inventory that is rising a bit within the last couple of weeks. And then demand, holy smokes. Why is not demand going through the roof right now? Well, it's still relatively expensive compared to where we were prior to rates being jacked up in 2022. But it's currently, this is as of today, on the 29th of August, Thursday, 6.41%. And now 6.41% is a really low level. It's the lowest level since April of 2023. So these are really good rates right now. And you would think that that buyers would be jumping out of their skin, can't wait to jump into the market and purchase something because rates have really come down. And but But let's talk a little bit about what's going on there. Jerome Powell, by the way, and the Federal Reserve had just met at the end of last week. He gave a speech, and it's Jackson Hole, Wyoming. He has an economic symposium that the Federal Reserve does every single year, and had a speech on Friday, and basically came out and said, we're cutting rates in September. So that's huge. So September, there's going to be rate cuts. We just don't know if it's 1/4% or 0.5%. And right now, currently, market expectations are for rate cuts for a total of a full percentage point lower in the federal funds short-term rate. Now, that federal fund rate is they're only meeting 3 times, so one of them has to be 0.5%. So they meet once in September, they meet in November, the day after election, they meet in December. So there's 3 times that they meet, and if they're going to come down a total of 1%, one of those times they need to come down 0.5%, the other 2 times come down 1/4%. So, but where rates are at today, that 6.41%, the rates the rate cuts that are coming are already baked into today's rates. So for those people out there that are waiting for September, and I know that there are a lot of buyers that are waiting for September thinking that's when rates are going to come down. They'll start looking in September, although that day Jerome Powell can say something when they announce the rate cuts, and might say something and rates actually go up for the day a little bit. So today's rates already have the cut in September. I need to make that perfectly clear for everybody out there, because currently where we've been playing is right around 6.5%. Keep in mind, in April, it was at 7.5%. Now, the Fed has not changed their interest rates since July of last year. They bumped it up in a 1/4% in July of last year, and it's been kept the same, flat, the whole entire time. And during the same time period, you could see we had 8% interest rates in October. We had 7.5% interest rates in April, and today it's been bouncing right around 6.5%. And I know what everybody expects, that it's at 6.5%. So when they make that rate cut in September, that it should go down to 6%. That's not what it's going to take to bring rates down to 6%, because the economic conditions right now have it baked into the equation. So we have the 6.5% interest rates. What it's going to take to get interest rates to come down 6% is not the Fed cutting rates. It's you have to watch the overall economy. If the overall United States economy were to slow further from where it is today, then yes, you could see that there would be a pathway for rates to come down more. And where you're going to see the biggest catalyst for a change in rates to come down is on the jobs front. And next week is actually Jobs Week. It's the first week in September. That's Jobs Week. Very, very important week. We'll get to Friday of next week. So that'll be, I believe, right around the 5th of September. That is when we'll actually get we could see that if the number of jobs created were actually a lot less than what expectations are, you could see rates come down a little bit more. And not only will jobs be talked about, but unemployment will be talked about that same day as well. And if unemployment continues to rise up, just another argument for that rates need to be coming down a little bit more, because the Fed has that dual mandate. They're not only interested in keeping inflation tame, which there is an inflation index that comes out on August 30th, tomorrow, Friday. It's called Personal Consumption Expenditures Index, and that one most likely is not going to move the markets at all, because we already know that inflation's slowly but surely coming down. One of their mandates is inflation prices, but the other one is jobs, employment, and they want to make sure that we have as much employment as possible, not for it to be overly stimulated like it has been before. So, but they're starting to see some softness in the employment labor data. So that's where they're stepping in, and they need to start to cut rates, or there could be more unemployment, and which would be a problem, a catalyst to a recession down the road. So let's get back to demand. So we talked about interest rates. Interest rates are already really favorable. There are more homes available than there have been any time since 2022. The market is as slow, or a little bit slower than where we were at 2022 as far as demand's concerned. So, hey, you know what? This is a really good time to be a buyer. Not as much competition, more homes to take a look at. And if you see what's happened in demand, this is just a snapshot of pending sales activity for the last 30 days. In Southern California, it went down 4%. And you can actually see, if I zoom this in, you can see that that. It actually was higher within the prior 2 weeks, and now it's come down a little bit. And it's come down because of the industry change. They've got to put together transactions with all these new contracts and everything. We're still putting together a lot of transactions. It's just that there are a few more that would have been put together had it not been for this industry change. And we're seeing this also in Bay Area. We're seeing it down 3%. For demand. We're also in Maricopa, Phoenix. You're seeing it down 2%. All in these markets, you could see that it actually was up the prior 2 weeks, and now it's coming down. And that's because interest rates were looking better, and then enacted this change in the real estate industry, and now that's what we're seeing in the data. So we're seeing a little bit of bumpiness in the data. Like I said, this should all be going away in the course of this month. This next month. So this is Vegas, Clark County, and it's down 6% in the last 2 weeks. It's a significant drop for Vegas area, and this has the reason why it was one of the most substantial drops of the year, or was the most substantial drop of the year, is once again because of what happened with the real estate industry and the speed of the market, the overall speed of the market. How fast is the market? And that is, if you place your home on the market, when are you expected to open up a pending sale, put together a transaction that is agreeable by the buyer and the seller, and at that point you have to do your due diligence and you close down the road 30 to 60 days down the road. Well, for Southern California, it is 88 days within the 2 week period of time, because supply has been increasing and demand coming down in all these markets. What we've had are increases in the pace of the market. Now you could actually see that in Southern California, it looked like it had reached this peak, and it was going to get hotter as the year progressed, because interest rates are getting better than where they were in the past. But within the last couple weeks, up 6 days, it's now at 88-day expected market time. And in the Bay Area, it's at 72, up 3 days. It was at 69. You could see how it was coming down. Now it's going back up. And Maricopa County, it was going down, now going up. It's at 93 days. It went up 4 days in the last couple weeks. And then you see Clark County, Vegas, it's at 95 days. That's up 11 days. So it's just screaming higher right now and really slowing down. So, but rates are projected and forecasted, and the economy is showing a pathway for rates to continue to ease, to continue to come down. And so what that means is this year in 2024, it is more favorable the second half of the year than it was the first half of the year. This is the first time that it's been like that in quite some time. You have to actually dial it way back, because in 2022 and in 2023, rates were lower at the start of the year, and the second half of the year were a lot higher, where it's like even last year, we had interest rates that were a lot lower. They even hit 5.99 for a day in February of 2023, and they made their way all the way up to 8% in October. And in 2022, they made their way all the way up to 7.37%. And at the start of the year, we're at 3.25%. So the first half of the year was more favorable than the second half of the year. This year in 2024, the first half of the year is going to be higher rates compared to the second half, which will be more favorable. This will mean that after we get past this little impasse of trying to put together all these new contracts and the new way of doing business, the paradigm shift, we're going to get a speed up of the market. Demand will rise, especially once we get to the Fed meeting, which they're meeting shortly within the next couple of weeks. They're going to meet and they're going to announce their rate cut. Everybody's going to flood the market thinking, hey, they did the rate cut, and the rates hadn't changed at all because, like I said, they're already baked into the equation. So it's going to be more demand, inventories coming down after peaking, which will mean that the market will only be a faster pace as the year progresses. So, and normally it's just flat for the rest of the year. But this year, we're going to see the market actually heat up as the year progresses, because the second half of the year will have a more favorable buyer environment with rates that really come down a lot more, adding to demand, adding to the anticipation of owning a home. So, and then that leads us into 2025, which we will be doing a forecast down the road, but I can tell you already, it looks like we're going to have diminished inventory and demand will be heating up, because we will have a much better interest rate environment and affordability environment to start off 2025. So that's where we're at right now. If you like what you've seen, subscribe to the channel, like the content that you're seeing. Go to reportsonhousing.com. Subscribe to one of our many, many reports. We have 9 reports that are out there that are all over SoCal, including Ventura. And then we're up in the Bay Area. We're in Maricopa County, and we're in Clark County. So Vegas and Phoenix as well. So go to reportsonhousing.com. There's free content there as well. The most recent report came out to all markets, still waiting, no offers. And then this coming up week, it will be LA, Orange County, and San Diego counties that will all get a brand new report that we'll be working on over the weekend and over Labor Day. So that's what you can go get. If you go to reportsonhousing.com, go to subscribe, utilize the coupon code HOUSE, because that's what we're talking about. We're talking lots of houses, but use the coupon code HOUSE for a free month. So thank you very much for joining us for another housing debrief. I hope you've learned a lot, and I hope that you have a great finish this week and have a fantastic Labor Day weekend, and we will see you on the other side.